You wouldn't think it, but history is filled with badasses. They're everywhere you look. There are guys who took on real-life grizzly bears and men who fought Nazis without even batting an eye. While their acts are heroic, strong, and absolutely brave, that also means you don't ever want to mess with them because they won't hesitate to kick your ass if the going gets tough. Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can keep up to date with all our latest and most exciting content. Julian Kopka. Not many people can say that they've survived a fall from a plane. We all know that an incident like that usually results in death. But Julian Kopka wasn't about to give up that easily. Aged just 17, Julian's plane crashed and she landed right into the Amazon rainforest. She had pretty bad injuries, but still managed to survive the waters infested with crocodiles and the thick plants that surrounded her. She eventually made her way to a camp and then had to go on another journey to find help. It took a long 7-hour canoe trip until she could find a pilot who could take her home. Unfortunately, she was the only one to survive the crash. Chelsea Sully Sullenberger. It isn't easy to land a plane on water and have all the passengers survive, but that's exactly what Chelsea Sullenberger did, aka Sully. Despite the hard, overwhelming task, Sully was able to land his plane on the Hudson River after the plane lost power in both engines. His fellow crew stated how calm and collected he was during the ordeal, proving just how much of a cool badass he really is. The safe landing was considered a miracle since the task was almost next to impossible. But thanks to skilled pilot Sully, who did everything he could to make that landing as perfect as possible, lives were saved. He was awarded as one of Time's most influential people, and he certainly deserves it. Hugh Glass. People get injured in regular fights with other humans. So what happens when you fight a literal bear? Hugh Glass happens. Hugh is best known as the man who took on a grizzly bear. After the bear had attacked him and a couple of his crew members, they killed the bear and Hugh passed out. When he woke up, his crew was gone, and all that was left was the dead bear. And with its skin, he created a bandage to cover his wounds. The next 6 weeks were spent out in the wilderness and forced him to take on wolves, and he even sewed some of the bear skin into his own flesh to replace what was missing. Badass? We think so. Joe the Mighty Adam. With a name like that, you can't expect anything less than a total and complete badass. Just over 5 feet tall, Joe was a Jewish man who was told that he'd die at age 14 due to an illness. But he beat that, joined the circus, and even began training as a strongman. His head was pretty strong too, because even when he was literally shot in the head, the bullet bounced off his forehead. A lot of anti-Semitism was present during this time, World War I, and Joe was so badass that he took on a whole gang of Nazi sympathizers who were trying to hold a rally. Not a single one could take him down after he yanked down their anti-Jewish sign. He went on to break records and make a name for himself as one of the coolest guys to ever walk the earth. Qing Shi. Qing Shi's life seems almost fictional at first. She was a Chinese prostitute who eventually married a pirate, and after his death, it was Qing who took over his fleet. Considering how little experience women had with running ships back then, Qing did an amazing job. She was so feared that even the Chinese government had to literally send out an armada to stop her. Despite their best effort, she still came out on top and captured a good 63 of their ships. She eventually left the sea life and ended up running a casino until she died at age 69. Tim Freed. You would think that being bitten by 200 snakes would kill you, but Tim Freed is so badass that it seems like snakes are scared of him. He's one of the bravest men on the planet because he willingly injects himself with snake venom in order to build some kind of natural immune system against them. His goal is to have scientists observe his blood in order to aid others with future snake bites. Tim is so crazy that he injected himself with the venom of the black mamba mamba, which is known as one of the world's most deadliest snakes. His experiment might be a little bit out there, but at the end of the day, he's just trying to look out for the rest of us, while simultaneously being a badass. Ned Kelly. Ned Kelly was the original Robin Hood. He spent a lot of time in prison and was constantly in and out of a cell. He had a lot of badass moments over his life. There was that time he made his brother dig a bullet out of his arm so it couldn't be used as evidence, gave money he stole from banks to widows and orphans, and when confronting the man who helped him get sent to prison, Ned simply challenged the man to a boxing match and won. Ned Kelly is an iconic Australian figure, but after robbing several different banks, his luck finally ran out. Ned was cornered while trying to stop a police train. But even with a gang of police after him, Ned did not back down. With a handmade suit of armor, Ned stepped out in the open with a gun in each hand and a smile on his face. He laughed as the police shot at him for 10 minutes and managed to survive, only to be hanged for his crimes. Despite being an outlaw, he is celebrated in Australian culture as being a bona fide badass. Rasputin. Rasputin was a smart and scary dude. He was so smart and scary that people thought he had magical powers. Rasputin was quite helpful when it came to treating the heir of Russia. Little Alexei was dealing with a blood condition that could easily have him meeting death. Rasputin was able to save the child countless times, which quickly added to his already mysterious persona. Rasputin just didn't give a damn. He was interacting with royalty, but dressed, acted, and spoke like everyone around him didn't even matter. But what really makes him a badass is the way he died. He was poisoned, but still managed to fight through that. Then he was shot in the back, but even that didn't kill him. Then he was shot again, beat with a rubber club, and then he was dumped into a freezing river in the middle of the night where he finally died of hypothermia. Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc lived a short life, but that doesn't mean it wasn't any less badass. Born in France, Joan was just an average girl living on her parents' farm when she claimed she was having religious visions. It was kind of good timing since France was in the middle of war with Britain, and Joan's visions came with a warning that she should be the one to lead her country to victory. Aged only 19, it was Joan who guided knights all over the land, proving she was an amazing commander despite her lack of experience. She also got physically involved and even ended up with an arrow to the chest, but that didn't stop her from marching on. The only thing that could end her young life was fire. She was sentenced to death and executed via burning. Ivar the Boneless. Ivar the Boneless is one of the most iconic, well-known Vikings of all time. He was ruthless, dark, and powerful, and also managed to invade the land we now call England. His name is a little mysterious, but there is a backstory to his Swedish nickname. It's been said that he may have been born without bones in his legs, or was completely legless, which makes his invasion and ruling as a Viking that much more amazing. He was one of the most feared people in all the lands, and it's for good reason. One well-known story about Ivar is in regards to the death of a king called Ella. It was with Ivar's help that the king wasn't just murdered, but tortured. Ella was cut open, had his lungs pulled out, and then to rub salt into the wound, Ivar literally rubbed salt into the wound. He might have been legless, but he was one Viking you wouldn't want to come across. And that's the 10 most badass people you won't want to mess with. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and let us know in the comments what you think. Check out our other videos and subscribe to be part of the fun. Click on the notification icon so you can see our new videos as soon as they're uploaded. That's it for now.